Welcome to Mindfulness Skills Training Lesson 3. In this lesson, we are going to learn about the power of language. We'll also learn about what it means to practice a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. Remember from our previous lessons, in mindfulness exercises, we are not judging our thoughts or feelings, but simply noticing what is happening with us as we practice these exercises. Let's review our homework for a moment. What was your experience this week using the see, feel, listen exercise? What did you observe or notice? If you were to rate your ability to change undesired emotions to desired emotions using the see, feel, listen exercise, what would your score be on a scale of 1 to 10? With 0 being, I didn't experience any change, and 10 being, I experienced a change in emotion every time. Take some time to reflect on this. Now, let's talk about the subconscious. The subconscious takes what's called a literal direction. This means that it focuses in on the words we tell ourselves inside of our minds. Whatever words we use, or wherever we focus our attention, the subconscious follows. The subconscious mind doesn't judge what we direct our focus to, it just responds accordingly. The subconscious will also focus on the word or thought that we are devoting the most energy to. So even if we are thinking about something we don't want to, if too much of our mental energy is focused on that thing, that's what the subconscious will gravitate towards. Psychologists have coined a name for this effect, the pink elephant paradox. They call it this because researchers found that if you tell someone specifically not to think about a pink elephant, it becomes nearly impossible for them to get a pink elephant out of their head. Another word for this is thought suppression, because the more that you try to suppress a thought, the more it wants to come back to the surface. Kind of like when you try to push an inflated ball under the water in a pool. It'll keep wanting to float back up to the top. Let's try an exercise that will help to explain how this works in everyday life. Think of something that you tell yourself you can't or shouldn't have, or a habit that you want to give up, like sugar, soda, caffeine, or something like that. Does thinking about the thing make you want it less or more? How does it make you feel to think about that thing? All of the energy and focus are on the very thing that you want to give up. The image you are focusing on, what you don't want, what you shouldn't want, or what you can't have, is directing the subconscious to focus on exactly that thing. So it's natural for the brain to lock onto it and bring it into your awareness as often as possible. This is the reason why diets often fail or are short-lived. It's also why sheer willpower can't always help you to break a habit. This is why we want to direct our focus and self-talk onto what we do want, not what we don't want. Imagining what we want is directing the subconscious to focus on the mental image of the outcome we want instead of the outcome we don't want. It allows us to come from a creative, solution-based mind rather than a limited mind that is obsessed with scarcity. Instead of saying, I'm going to stop drinking soda, you could say, I'm going to drink more water today. Instead of, I'm going to stop sleeping in, you could say, I'm going to get up right when my alarm goes off tomorrow. Take a moment to think about some changes you'd like to make in your life and how you can give your mind a positive direction for how to make those changes. For this next exercise, try and stand up if you are sitting, or try to sit down if you are standing. Don't actually stand or sit, just try to. How are you feeling right about now? You might find yourself a little bit confused by the directions. And here's what we learned from this exercise. Trying is lying. We really can't try to do something. Just like Yoda said, do or do not. There is no try. Whenever we say try, we are giving our subconscious an out and creating inner confusion about what it is that we're going to do. Now, do stand up or do sit down. Did that go a little bit better? When you give your subconscious accurate direction, it is easier to follow. But when there is a double bind, it is very difficult to know what it is that you're going to do next. Next, let's talk about the difference between can't and won't. Identify something that you think you can't do, or can't be, or can't have. Go ahead and say this thing out loud. I can't, you fill in the blank. Notice the feeling that comes up when you say the can't statement. Because the subconscious is taking a literal direction, we are telling the subconscious what it can't do. It listens and it follows. Telling ourselves or others that we can't often really means that we won't. Now, replace your can't statement with a won't statement. Say this out loud by replacing the word can't. Now let's try some of the following statements. I'm doing the best I can with where I am at right now. I'm working on bettering my situation. I'm still figuring things out. I'm practicing some healthier tools. Notice how those felt compared to I can't or I won't. Take a moment to think about what the difference was for you. Consider taking a moment here to journal about your feelings. Now, let's have you identify something that you believe that you should or that you need to do. Say out loud what you should or need to do. Notice how it makes you feel to say that. Does the thing feel doable? Does it make you have a positive expectation of the outcome? Does it produce any anxious thoughts or feelings? Notice how it affects how you feel about yourself and your own self-confidence. Take a moment to consider how often you use the words should, shouldn't, or need to. How often do these statements lead to an actual desired change in your behavior? Now, replace your should or shouldn't or need to with I'm choosing to or I want to. For example, I shouldn't take the day off from work today versus I'm choosing to take the day off from work today. Or I need to have another cup of coffee versus I want to have another cup of coffee. Notice the difference in how those two feel. Does one feel more honest or authentic than the other? Is one of them easier or more difficult to say? Phrases like I should or I shouldn't are the language of a fixed mindset. They direct your subconscious to assume that there is a correct way of doing things, and they can lead to anxiety and discomfort if you think you're doing things the incorrect way. Phrases like, I am doing the best I can in this moment, and there is more I want to learn about how to handle this in the future, are more in line with a growth mindset that allows for flexibility and improvement. One of the strongest ways that we direct our subconscious is by using I am statements. Whatever follows after the statement I am is giving the subconscious the direction and affirmation of what we are. Since the subconscious doesn't judge or reason, it just follows the literal directive. When what follows the I am statement is negative, it can lead to a fixed mindset. When what follows is positive, it can lead to a growth mindset. Becoming aware of our language and the directives we are using is imperative to have lasting positive change in our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Another way to think about this involves self-disparaging language as part of a fixed mindset and self-affirming language as part of a growth mindset. How often is your language in the self-disparaging side? How does it feel to know that when you use the fixed mindset and self-disparaging language, you are literally programming your subconscious mind to continue defeating itself? How much different would you feel choosing the growth mindset and self-affirming language? What self-affirming language could you use more moving forward? Feel free to pause the video and take a few moments to journal about what self-affirming language you would like to try out this week. For this week's homework, let's continue our daily mindfulness practice. Take time over the next few days to become more aware of how much you run your life on autopilot and how much you are actually conscious of. Set an alarm on your phone to go off 3 times a day to practice being mindful in that moment. Notice your breath, your emotion, how your body feels, what you were thinking about, and what you were doing in that moment before the alarm went off. Journal about how each mindful moment went. And remember, mindfulness is an exercise, and it takes some time to make it second nature. In addition, take a look at this chart about self-disparaging versus self-affirming language. Make a mental note of it, or take a screenshot, and think about some ways in which you want to practice more self-affirming language this week. Feel free to journal about your experience so you can track your progress. As always, thank you for participating in today's lesson, and we'll see you for the next one.